In today's video, you'll see 10 terrifying videos seen in mid-flight, atop of an airplane that got ripped off 40,000 feet in the sky, and of course, a snake in the cabin that led to an emergency landing. But first, let's look at this pilot here who decided to cheat death. Number 10. The Miracle on the Hudson. Birds are pretty curious animals. From their unusual appearance to their unique behaviors, these creatures are indeed fascinating of all in the animal kingdom. But have you ever stopped to ask what an impact of a bird's strike would look like on an airplane? Well, maybe it's time to get a little scared because it turns out that a bird strike can be life-threatening during a flight. Not just to a small plane, but even to massive machines like an Airbus. In January 2009, US Airways 1549 departed New York's LaGuardia Airport to Charlotte Airport in North Carolina with 150 passengers on board. All looked fine and nobody expected that something as small as a bird could result in an emergency landing. But it happened. The plane flew directly into a swarm of birds which ripped off all the plane's engines. It was getting riskier by every tick of a second and the captain was fully aware of this. He knew they were not going to make it to any nearby airport without the engines, and so he took a bold risk move, and that was to make an emergency landing on the Hudson River. It was like hanging your life on a thread, even as passengers remained helpless. Luckily, the landing was successful and all of the 150 passengers and the crew were safely rescued. Not even a single casualty was reported from this incident. It's no wonder then that the historic event got named the Miracle on the Hudson. Number 9. Flight attendant freaks out. Flight attendants are supposed to be polite and gentle, so you tend to think, right? Well, not all the time. Some of them go through some tough moments in life and they cannot hold their peace. And this one here is not an exception. Whether she was going through a rough life moment or something is bound to be debated. But she is recorded mid-flight melting down, like what you'd witness on the street. Forget the ethics of the job and let's get it rolling.
Get out of my way! This has not happened to me since and I'm not putting up with this!
Kevin Rich was on board this American Airlines Flight 2332 en route to Dallas when he recorded this incident. According to those who witnessed the incident, the flight attendant talked about union issues. Just listen.
Witnesses say she spoke of union issues and made an apparent threat.
I have been finally trained by the FAA.
It was claimed that she was bipolar and she had not taken her medicine. Well, maybe we need to be a bit careful with the kinds of people we allow to work as flight attendants, lest we sacrifice innocent lives at the mercy of a single individual. Number 8. Hero pilot handles unruly passenger. If you thought it's only flight attendants who can freak out mid-flight, then you just got it wrong. Even passengers can turn out to be unruly and cause chaos on board. Whichever the case, these people always find the best person to handle them. And in this case, it was the turn of a pilot to show a rogue passenger how to behave on the flight. I'm not sure if the passenger was drunk or something, but he just kept hurling insults to a flight attendant as he attempted to get off the plane even before the crew could give the clear. This took place immediately after the plane touched down at Charlotte Douglas International Airport from Kentucky.
Take a seat. Take a seat.
The man pushed himself through a flight attendant as he tried to seek an exit. However, this heroic pilot could not allow the rogue man to show disrespect to his crew member. And so he took action to show him just how to behave on flights. Number 7. An explosion on board. And that's exactly what happened to the Philippines Airlines Flight 434 back in 1994, from Manila to Tokyo on a Boeing 747-283B. And when the plane was on its second leg of the route, the captain struggled to control the plane after its control system failed. With Tokyo still 2 hours away, the captain decided to land at Naha Airport in Okinawa. But what was to be a few minutes of emergency landing turned out to be a 2-hour job, even as the autopilot failed and communication with the Naha control tower proved difficult.
Requesting emergency landing at Naha. We will need full emergency services on landing.
After moments of struggle to save the over 290 passengers, they managed to land successfully at Naha Airport. Number 6. Mid-air collision. With the strictly monitored air routes and the constant communication from the air traffic controllers, maybe the least you'd expect is a mid-air collision. But it turns out we're not any safer than we all think. Plane collision in the air is something that can still happen, despite the strictly regulated air routes. In July 2002, a chartered airliner carrying a group of children headed for a UNESCO youth festival in Spain collided with a German cargo craft at 36,000 feet over southern Germany. This happened after an overstretched Zurich air traffic controller's equipment failed. Such a sad moment to say the least. Number 5. Top of an airplane ripped off. When we talk of a top of an airplane getting ripped off mid-air, it sounds like a nightmare or something you can witness in a sci-fi movie. But for the passengers on board Aloha Airlines Flight 243, which was scheduled for Honolulu from Maui, it is all but a true tale that they'll live to tell their grandchildren. The date is April 1998, and the Boeing 737 took off in perfect condition under clear weather conditions. But just when the plane was at its cruising altitude, some 24,000 feet in the sky, a huge chunk of the plane's top got ripped off by the strong wind. Everyone was gasping for air, even as the pilot struggled to gain control of the plane that was at risk of splitting in two. Luckily, the captain managed to make a miracle landing at Kahului Airport, saving all the 95 passengers from the danger of death. However, they escaped with severe injuries. But sadly, one crew member, a flight attendant, was never recovered as she was serving drinks when the incident happened. Such incidences are indeed memorable. Number 4. A plane engine on fire mid-air. When you get on a flight, anything can happen, and sometimes unfortunate incidents just happen when least expected. This United Airlines flight en route to Denver from Honolulu faced an unexpected moment when its right engine failed mid-air, bursting into flame. Debris of the engine flew down the city of Broomfield, about 25 miles from where it took off in Colorado. Luckily, the pilot managed to make a safe emergency landing, and what looked like a real panic for both passengers and crew turned into a celebration. However, the UK temporarily suspended Boeing 777s, which used the same engine as the one that caught fire in Colorado. Well, I'm pretty sure if I was on that flight, I'd avoid Boeing 777s by all means. Number 3. Lightning strike. Lightning is scary, and we all do the best we can to avoid it. It gets even more frightening when it strikes while we're cruising at high altitudes. This JetBlue Flight 324 was en route to Los Angeles when suddenly lightning struck it as it went through a thunderstorm. This was so alarming to passengers, but fortunately the plane suffered no damage and landed safely moments later in LA. In February 2016, Mitchell Stewart, a passenger flying from Abu Dhabi to Paris, recorded this incident as lightning struck one of his plane's wings mid-air as he flew over Paris. Like the JetBlue plane, this one was also lucky to make a safe landing. Number 2. Snake in the cabin. Now, if you fear snakes, perhaps this is not going to be a pleasant moment for you. Snakes can be nerve-chilling, especially if they invade your home. I'm not sure how you'd react though if you saw a huge snake slithering down the cabin during a flight. With nowhere else to escape, this can really disturb your mind. And that's exactly what passengers aboard this commercial flight headed to Mexico City went through. This serpent slithered into the cabin from the luggage compartment in a scene that you'd only see in Hollywood thrillers. This caused a lot of unrest among passengers, forcing the captain to make an emergency landing to allow the animal control unit to quickly free the serpent from the cabin. Number 1. Turbulence on flight. We all know how disturbing it feels to drive on a bumpy road. But what if that experience is happening some 30,000 feet in the sky? I guess you'll want to regret traveling by plane. But these things happen. Just like potholes and bumps can shake you up in a car, so is the same experience when strong turbulence hits an airplane. In 2016, a brave passenger, Devi Rahmayani, managed to capture in-flight turbulence that hit Etihad Airways en route to Jakarta from Abu Dhabi. Look at how the turbulence shakes the cabin, leaving passengers scared to death. Well, such an experience can only favor the strong-hearted individuals. But for the faint-hearted, it was indeed an hour of horror as uncertainty continued to loom. Though the plane landed safely in Jakarta, about 30 people suffered injuries as a result of the severe turbulence. Thanks for watching.